Hello guys, this is Chuka once again. We come to the second segment of the Q&A. We answered just 4 questions the last time, and I've received so many questions after that. So without wasting time, let's go to question number 1. What policies can be implemented to manage the volatility of the Naira and stabilize the foreign exchange market? Brilliant question. So first of all, in order to manage the volatility of the Naira, the central bank has to come up with a series of policies. They are presently doing that. First and foremost, they need to tackle inflation. For inflation to be tackled, the central bank has to come up with some policies. Like I said in my previous interview, we talked about monetary policy and fiscal policy. Monetary policies are the policies that are solely central bank policies. Policy on CRR, cash reserve ratio, just to manage liquidity. Deliberate policy on exchange rate, FPIs, foreign portfolio investors, are also part of the policies that central bank has to implement in terms of making sure that Naira is stabilized. So on the fiscal side, which is solely that of the government in this case now, we talked about fiscal aspects of the economy, which I said the problem we're facing in Nigeria is 85% more on the physical side. When I mean problem, I'm talking about the FS problem. So the government has to be intentional. They have to be deliberate in terms of their policy making. For us to be able to increase our oil production, we have got to tackle the issue on the Niger Delta. We need to be able to produce more, to be able to sell more. And when we're able to sell more, we will now be able to earn more foreign exchange revenue. That way we have enough to boost our foreign reserve, which is currently between 40 billion to 45 to 42 billion. Number 2 is to be able to earn enough FS to be able to meet the local demand. And number 3 is also to attract foreign direct investors, mostly foreign portfolio investors. Now, these investors are, we call them people who bring in hot money. You know, they come in, invest in the government securities, and there's a deliberate policy by CBN where OMO, which is open market operation, is a way of two things. OMO actually handles two things. One, to mop up excess liquidity in the system, and secondly, presently what CBN is doing is to encourage foreign direct investors, right, to bring in the hot money, and then government gives them security, which is the OMO security. The government also, on the fiscal side, we have to work on infrastructure and work on improving security, because without security, no investor can actually come in. So for me, to stabilize the economy, we have got to harmonize both the fiscal policy and the monetary policy. We cannot handle the FS issue. Presently, what we are doing now is addressing the FS issue with monetary policy, which for me, it's not the proper thing to do, because the major issue we have as regards the FX has to do with more physical and not monetary. Yeah. So let's go to the next question. So the next question says, what would be the effect of fully functioning ports at Port Harcourt and Warri? Okay, so presently Nigeria is blessed with, or should I use the word, Nigeria is more of a coastal country. Yeah, I see no reason why Nigeria should solely depend on importation or depend solely on the Lagos port. The port in Warri and then the one in Port Harcourt can fully accommodate most of the importations from the Niger Delta section to the South-South section. So what will be the effects? Number 1, if these two ports are fully functional, when I mean fully functional, functioning at optimum level, 1, the cost of goods and services will reduce. Let me explain it this way. So imagine you have a container load of vehicle, automobile, right, shipped in from abroad to Lagos, but the end destination is Port Harcourt. And then you get it cleared in Lagos, and then you have to transport it by road to Port Harcourt. You and I know that the factors that will affect the cost of these vehicles are, number 1, cost of movement. Number 2, of course, you know how our roads are. Other issues as regard the insecurity, the risk aspect of it. So let's say Toyota Camry, for example, that is cleared in Lagos, but the end destination is in Port Harcourt. That vehicle, if it's cleared in Lagos, probably will cost you about 10 million, right? But if it's cleared in Port Harcourt, probably will cost you about 7 to 8 million. So that's the number 1 advantage. Number 2 advantage is job creation. When you have a functional port, seaport, go to Apapa, for example, you see there are so many jobs that people are involved in, from those who are crane operators to licensed agents to even food vendors. And so when we diversify this port, when we spread it, you know, it helped us as a nation to boost our commerce, to also help us in terms of security. Because I mean, God forbid something happened in the Apapa port. Let's assume now, in this case, now the terrorist attack in Apapa port. It means that every importation, every shipment will be put on hold. The Port Harcourt port, I think it's somewhere in there. It's arguably one of the, in terms of the space or landmass now, probably times 2 bigger than Apapa Port or Lagos Port. It makes more sense that government spread these ports. You can have one in Port Harcourt, get Warri working, get Calabar working, even the one in there's this talk about dredging the River Niger so that the port there can work. So it makes a whole lot of sense, not only in terms of profitability, also in terms of job creation, also in terms of making goods and services cheaper for our people. For me, I do not see the reason why these ports cannot work, especially as Nigeria is blessed with a lot of water that can give us the leverage and the space we need to operate. So let's go to question number 3. If investors could confidently invest in hospitality, will it be helpful? So some months back, I traveled to Qatar, and Qatar is known for petroleum. They've got one of the largest number of gas, and in fact, Qatar produces more gas than petroleum, than crude. Let me use the word crude now. But then the tour guy, he took us through some of the museums and all that, and then he made a statement. He said that in the next 30 years, Qatar is looking to diversify, move away from gas to hospitality, to tourism. And guess what? They started it now. If you go to Qatar, you see that each time you go there, there are new things. New hotel, they host a whole lot of sporting activities, and that is obviously what most of the the countries in the Middle East are doing. So hospitality is one of the major income earners for some countries. There are some countries that have no natural resource, oil, gold, and other. They depend on hospitality. I see no reason why Nigeria wouldn't, because we have everything. You have the Obudu Cattle Ranch, we have Yankari Game Reserve, we have this waterfall somewhere in Elisha, and a host of others. So hospitality will not only boost our revenue, it will also create much needed job. It will also create stability, because you find out that people can actually move from a particular part of the country to another particular part of the country where wealth is not concentrated. Most importantly, it will help to the over-reliance on oil. That way, over-reliance in oil will reduce, and most importantly, we'll be able to attract foreign investors, attract much needed FS that we need for us to be able to, have our Naira gain strength. So the last question, which is number 4 question. So what's the adverse effect of the Dangote refinery currently, which everyone has said should help with our FS demand? It doesn't seem to have had any effect so far. What are your thoughts, and what do you see in 2025? One of the major issues we have in terms of FS has to do with our over-reliance on imported refined product. This is the thing. We produce crude, we sell outside, and then buy the refined product. Now, 80 to 90% of our FX generated go back to buying of this refined product. And so I believe the founding fathers of Nigeria had this in mind when they established 4 refineries. So we have one in Warri, we have one in Kaduna, we have one in Port Harcourt. So the essence is produce crude, move to the refineries, get it refined, and then sent to the end users. But over time, some of these refineries have not been working, and then Dangote refinery comes on board. Dangote is a private individual, so the man needs his business to flourish. And so, in as much as the refinery, it's something that everyone was looking forward to. The reason being that once Dangote refinery is functional, it's assumed that we'll buy these products locally, and thereby saving between 80 to 90% of our foreign reserve in our foreign exchange the end from the crude sales. Right? I think not just only Dangote refinery. I think if we can get the refineries working, we probably would have solved about 55% of our FS issue. Why? Because some of these funds, FX that we use to import refined product, can be channeled into other use, can be channeled into demand. Like I said earlier, one of my videos, I said the issue we have is our demand is not meeting up to our supply. And so when your demand outweighs supply, what happens? Price will obviously go up. I think that it's a good thing that we have Dangote refinery, but I will advocate that the other refineries should also be functional. Privatization for me of the refinery would be the starting point in terms of reducing our reliance in imported products. And also, I think that government should encourage Dangote refinery to be able to produce enough and then sell to the end user. That way we're able to save much needed FX for other use. So I hope that I'll be able to do justice to some of your questions, and then hopefully in our next section we'll look at getting a guest to tell us, just have a conversation on how investment has helped him move his business and what were his mistakes in terms of investment. Till we meet again, thank you very much. Still yours, your investment advisor, Chuka.